All right, so we're in the middle of page 26, and if we've decided that question number 4 is a good one to do pretty early on because it's specific and it has a line reference, next thing we have to do is understand the question before we can really get into it. So read question number 4, Kim. All right, if you have anything you see there in terms of it being a question, yeah, no question mark. So can you turn it into a question? In order to, right? All right, why? Good. So why does Darrow, right, so that's going to increase our understanding to be able to actually turn something that maybe isn't on the page as a question into a question. Now, when we look at page 27, you flip the page there, all right, we have to know now where to go back into the passage to read. We have a line reference here, right? Lines 28 to 32. If you look at the asterisk, Kim, what does it say about our window? Right, about 5 lines before, about 5 lines after. Let's go back to the passage here. Go back a few pages, flip back. Tell me where you would start reading and where you would end for question number 4. Okay, right? So you go back to the beginning of the paragraph, right, and where are you going to cut off? The end. Now, are those precisely 5 lines from the line reference we got? 5 lines would be 23 to 37. Is that exactly where you are? Right, you're 1 off. Why are you okay with that? Because, yeah, it just makes sense. You don't have to go back further than the beginning of the paragraph. You don't have to continue on further than the end. All right, take a minute and read that with an eye toward our next step. We want to predict the answer here. So we want to know why Darrow is mentioning laws against witchcraft and blue laws. All right, take a moment. Okay. So looking at that, and we're on page 28 now, talking about a 4th step of our basic approach where we're trying to predict an answer. Now, why is that so important? Well, we know that on this test, the people who created the test are trying to mess with our heads. That's what the answer choices are all about. They're trying to mess with us. And we're going to have a great deal more success finding right answers if we can have a concept of what we're looking for before we let them get a hold of us, before we let them lead us astray. So here, looking at the language that you just read in your window, Kim, why does it seem that Darrow is mentioning laws against witchcraft and blue laws? Okay, laws change, and okay, good, yeah, they get rid of laws sometimes. They get rid of laws, right? We don't all still have all the same laws against witchcraft that may have existed. The blue laws about what you can and can't buy on Sundays aren't the same as they were years ago. That seems to be his point. All right, let's flip to page 29, get into our answer choices here, and see how that helps us to have predicted what the answer is going to be before we get into the answer choices. But before we do, if you look at the bullet points on page 29, we're trying to give you some heads up into the kinds of things they do with the wrong answer choices to lead you astray. So the first one, they take you outside the passage, take you away from what's being talked about there, and lead you into extraneous or irrelevant information. You'll see some answer choices that are somewhat right and somewhat wrong. Is that going to be okay, Kay? No, that's right. We need answer choices that are all right. All right, if there's something wrong with it, we've been led astray by the part of the answer choice that's wrong. And then extreme language. So I can't tell you that every time you see words like always, every, must be, the best, that the answer choice that contains those words has to be wrong, but you want to be very suspicious when you see that kind of language. All right, so let's look at what we have here. If you look at number 4, okay, and look at whether what's in the answer choices fits with the ideas that we have. All right, so reading number 4, Yes, no, maybe? You say no. Why do you say no? All right, so he's not saying what should be, right? He's not taking the position on what should be. He's just talking about what's happened in the past. All right. And how about answer choice B? Illustrations of a previous statement. You like that. What's the previous statement? Okay, the one just before it. Why don't you read that for us, the statement that came just before. Okay, yeah, he seemed to be setting up the general idea there. Good. How about C, hinting at the value of laws since repealed? No, I don't think so. Darrow is not saying let's bring back the laws against witchcraft or go back to the old blue laws. That doesn't seem to be his point. And how about D? Exceptions to a rule? Do we have a rule here? We have exceptions to a rule here. All right, so what do you like? You like answer choice B. And did you find it helpful to predict what the answer was going to be before you got into those answer choices? Yeah, I think that's going to help you throughout the test if you can do that. Come to your own understanding of the passage, your own understanding of what the answer to your question is. Why does Darrow use examples like witchcraft and blue laws? Then get into the answer choices, and they're less likely to throw you off course.